Greetings, YouTube. On July 11th, I posted a video about a Gainesville, Florida pastor who has a church, and on that lawn of that church was a sign that said, "Islam is of the devil." I pointed out that this man and his church are bigots. Well, he's back in the news again, because he sent his 10-year-old daughter to school this week, Monday, wearing a shirt that said, "Islam is of the devil." Funny, that violates the school's dress code. Now, when he came to pick her up, he was wearing a matching shirt. It was kind of like tourist day. So he's showing the entire world that not only is he a bigot, but he is teaching his children bigotry. Now, I don't know about you, but in my worldview, hatred is not a family value. And if you consider hatred to be a family value, I have some news for you. You are a crappy parent. And that would make this pastor a crappy parent, because he's using his child as a political tool. Now, I could understand if this person was a teenager, particularly if they are over the age of consent. Because if you're over the age of consent, you can make decisions about your body, then you should be able to make decisions about your political statements as well. But this child is a minor, well below the age of consent. She really doesn't have a firm grasp of what the political statements she is making truly mean. She's being used by her father to make some kind of asinine point. And I'm offended by this. Because I don't see this much different as someone who'd sent their child out into a minefield to find out where the bombs are. You're using your child in a manner that you're not willing to do because you can't. Because face it, who's going to care if a parent shows up at school in that kind of shirt? They're not going to be allowed into school anyway, except to pick up their kid and leave. So it doesn't make a big political statement unless he puts his kid in it and then sends his child to school. This man is an asshat. I'm not going to make any bones about it. He is preaching, literally, bigotry, intolerance, and hatred. Now, I hope that if any of his daughter's schoolmates are in fact Muslim, that they will have a little more tolerance than he does. Apparently, she's willing to show the world. I hope they extend to her the hand of friendship to show her that Muslim people are just like the rest of us. They're people! Funny about that. They're just like the Christians and the Jews and the pagans and the Buddhists and everybody else. They want to live their lives, they want to enjoy themselves, they want to love their families. They're just like everybody else. And just because your parent is an asshat and tells you that they're worthy of your hatred doesn't make that so. In fact, it could be that your parent is wrong. And in this particular case, dead wrong. I'm not really surprised by this kind of thing. I mean, he did stick a sign on the lawn of his church that said, "Islam is of the devil." And, you know, I am more than glad when someone like this labels themselves as a bigot, because it makes it so much easier for the rest of us to avoid them. But I don't think he should have the right to do it to his child. She isn't old enough to make these decisions for herself. And someday she may look back upon this and, you know, decide that I didn't like being used by my parents. And she may turn her back on her family and walk away. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I don't even want it to happen. But I'm saying, when you get used like this, you remember it. And there may be ramifications here that this man is not prepared for, that he has not planned for. But maybe he doesn't care. Maybe all he cares about is at the moment he can now get all upset and make a big public display that someone's walking all over his civil liberties. But unfortunately, when it comes to minor children in school, the courts have shown that children don't have freedom of speech. That it's fairly limited. There have been some gains made amongst teenagers, but again, older students, who are essentially adults. But when it comes to minors like this, 10-year-olds in grammar school, they don't get to express themselves the same way an adult does. Whether you agree with that or not, it's just the way it is. And the dress code said you're not allowed to wear an article of clothing that's going to generate this kind of disruptive influence. And let's face it, this shirt is going to do that. But this really isn't a free speech issue in my book. In my book, it's a bad parenting issue. It's a parent using their child in an offensive manner to insult an entire group of people because the parent is an asshat. Well, in case any Muslims ever see this video, on behalf of my fellow Americans, I apologize for this jerk. It may not mean much, but I do mean it.